this is going to be an interactive sermon. That means you guys get to participate. So I was thinking about rocks on our trip and kind of researching it in the Bible, and rocks are really mentioned a lot of different times, especially in Psalms. So I thought, well, what does a rock represent? So I would like anybody give me a characteristic of a rock or what they think it might represent as far as a Christian life or life in general? Stability. Okay, that's one I had got. Gonna have to speak up when you say it. Foundation. Yeah, it's a foundation. It's very solid. You can build on. What? I still didn't catch it. Enduring, yes. I mean, you look at rocks. We went to Arches Park, and those rocks, I mean, they're huge. They're enduring. Some of that was like the balance rock. You wonder how long it's going to endure, but it still stands there. It's enduring.
They hold their shape. They don't change.
Okay. It's like their solidarity. Yes, and I thought too, longevity, they last a long time, don't they? And then beauty, the rocks are beautiful, like we saw some of the gems, and the rocks, they hold a lot of beauty. All right, I want you all to turn to Psalms 18:2 and see what the Bible has to say, one of the things about rock. Psalms 18:2. All right, this is the Psalm of David. I'll read 1, 2. I will love you, Lord, oh my strength. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer. So he's talking about something solid there. The Lord, it is rock. It's solid, and the Lord is always there. He doesn't change. And then let's turn over to Psalms 40. One and 2. Psalms 41 and 2. I waited patiently for the Lord, and he inclined to me and heard my cry. He also brought me up out of a horrible pit, out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock and established my steps. So what's David saying there? The Lord brought him out of trouble and set him where it was solid. If you have ever experienced an earthquake, it's sure nice when it's done, isn't it? And you feel like you're solid again. And so today we're going to do things a little differently. Since I found so many songs in the hymnal talking about rock and what the Lord does for us, let's sing hymn number 522, My Hope is Built on Nothing Less. And you can just sit down if you want to. 522. My right, let's turn to Psalm 62:2. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense. I shall not be greatly moved. So David here, he talks about the rock of my salvation. So what does that mean? Yes, he doesn't go away, does he? Not unless we forsake him, but he will not forsake us. And he, is our salvation.
Well, in those days, rocks made a wall to keep enemies away.
Right, they made walls for defense. I mean, even you think about the history of the U.S. and the fighting of the Indians and others, and they often hid behind a rock, and that often saved them. And so God truly is our salvation. And let's turn over to Psalms 89.
The rock there seems to also be representing strength. It says in the next verse, "He's the rock of my strength." I was going to mention that.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Denver. All right, then in Psalms 89:26. David says, "He shall cry to me, 'You are my Father, my God, and the rock of my salvation.'" The stability, the endurance, the longevity. It's something solid, and Christ is our rock. All right, then we think about rocks or gems, they can be called too, of beauty. And let's look in Exodus 28. And this is describing Aaron's garments, priestly garments. And let's look at verse 28:17. And we'll read what these represented and what different rocks they were. "And you shall put settings of stone in it." This is talking about the ephod that he wore in front of him as he ministered in the sanctuary. "And you shall put settings of stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be sardius, a topaz, and an emerald. This shall be the first row. The second row shall be turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold settings." So what does that remind you of? Our children's story. The foundations of the New Jerusalem. They aren't exactly the same. And I tried to kind of figure out if they did a pattern, cross or different angles, but I couldn't see that. So they're just a little different than the foundations of the New Jerusalem, but they are obviously gems of beauty. And then let's read on. "And the stones shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to their name, like engravings of a signet, each one with its own name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes." So evidently they inscribed in the rock each tribe of Israel. So I thought that was interesting. And there's so many different numbers in the Bible. You know, you have the 12 tribes, you have the 12 stones on the ephod, you have the 12 stones of the foundation of Jerusalem. There's just a lot of 12 in the Bible, and I, don't know totally the significance of that number, but it's something that means whole, I think. And even on the foundation stones in the New Jerusalem, the 12 apostles. But let's turn over to Revelation 21. Revelation 21 and 18. And it's talking about the New Jerusalem. And they're all a product of 12, I guess you could say, 144 feet and so on, 12 gates and 12 foundations. And then it says in verse 18, the construction of its walls were of jasper. The city was pure gold, like clear glass. The foundations of the wall of the city were adorned with all kinds of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third chalcedony, the fourth emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardis, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth topaz, the 10th chrysoprase, the 11th jacinth, and the 12th amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Each individual gate was of one pearl, and the streets of the city were pure gold, like transparent glass. And then it goes on to talk about the presence of God and the Lamb, and you think about what light does to those transparent gems, and we can't even imagine how beautiful that will be when in the new earth, and we can be able to be there if we stay faithful to the Lord and trust in Christ's righteousness and follow him wherever he goes. And then I was thinking too on these different gems and our ability to see color. I mean, isn't that absolutely phenomenal that human beings can see the colors that they can see, that God created our eyes to be able to see those different colors. I mean, you hear of people being colorblind, but they're not completely blind of colors. Evidently, it's a little different hue to some of them. But then the animal kingdom, they've done, I mean, how can they know for sure? But studies that they probably can't see some of the colors that we can see. And it's just shows us God's creation is so phenomenal when you think of how he created human beings. And when we look at the beauty of the earth, the different rocks and their characteristics, even light, Jesus is the light, God is light, and in him is no darkness. We can just be so thankful that the Lord is our creator, and how phenomenal a creator he is. And I thought it was interesting, we see beauty around us through our eyes, but what really is the definition of beauty? It is not just a visual experience. It is a set of characteristics that provides a perceptual experience to the eye, to the ear, the intellect, the aesthetic faculty, or the moral sense. It is a qualities that give pleasure to the senses. And I thought in the Bible it talks about the beauty of holiness. So what is meant by that? But it's when we come to know God and his character, it even with all our senses, our intellectual abilities, we know that, true beauty is that of God and of holiness. And my prayer to each of us, I think in nature, God gave us nature. They say that as the second book that we can learn so much from, and we can draw lessons about his glory. And even the rock kingdom, you take about the animal kingdom, you take in the ocean, the whole world under there, and the beauty of the fish and coral and everything. We know that our God is a God of beauty and holiness, and he's given these abilities to be able to comprehend it all, to learn about him and give him glory and learn about his character and his love for each one of us. So for our closing hymn, what is the closing hymn? I don't have my bulletin up here. Somebody look. 531. We'll build on the rock. Let's stand as we sing.